Maintain ADDS domain controllers. There are operational aspects applicable to every ADDS environment that focus on maintaining business continuity of the authentication services. This includes backup and recovery of domain controllers and the ADDS objects they host. Maintain ADDS domain controller availability. Domain controllers use a multi-master replication process to copy data from one domain controller to another. As a best practice, an ADDS domain should have at least 2 domain controllers per ADDS site. This makes the ADDS database more available and spreads the authentication load during peak sign-in times. Important. For most enterprises, consider 2 domain controllers per geographical region as the absolute minimum to help ensure high availability and performance. Plan for ADDS backup and restore. Maintaining the reliability of the Active Directory data is important. Performing regular backups can play a part in this process, but knowing how to restore or recover data after a failure is vital. Restoring deleted ADDS objects by using RecycleBin. Because restoring objects deleted from ADDS by using traditional backup methods involves temporary OS downtime, Windows Server offers the Active Directory RecycleBin feature, which provides a straightforward method to restore deleted objects with no ADDS downtime. After you enable Active Directory RecycleBin, the deleted objects container displays in Active Directory Administrative Center. Deleted objects persist in this container until their deleted object lifetime expires. For new ADDS deployments, that lifetime is set to 180 days, but you have the option to change it. You can choose to restore the objects either to their original location or to an alternate location within ADDS. Important. You can't use Active Directory RecycleBin to revert changes to existing objects. In such cases, you must use the traditional methods of backing up and restoring ADDS. ADDS backup and restore. To restore ADDS, a backup must explicitly include system state data. System state is a collection of critical OS and server role files that include the ADDS database and the registry. Important. A full server backup that is used for full server recovery doesn't support this scenario. To perform an ADDS restore, you must have full access to the files on the domain controller. This requires restarting the domain controller in DSRM. If you're restarting a domain controller locally, open the advanced startup options and choose the DSRM from the menu. When you start a domain controller in DSRM, you sign in as administrator with the DSRM password. You then can use Windows Server Backup to restore the directory database. After completing the restore process, you must restart the server you're recovering. The domain controller ensures that its database is consistent with the rest of the domain by pulling from its replication partners the changes to the directory that have occurred since the date of the backup. Non-authoritative restore. By default, you restore an ADDS backup as of a known good date. Essentially, you roll the domain controller back in time. When ADDS restarts on the domain controller contacts its replication partners and requests all subsequent updates. In other words, the domain controller catches up with the rest of the domain by using standard replication mechanisms. This type of restore is useful when the directory on a domain controller has been damaged or corrupted, but the problem has not spread to other domain controllers. However, in some scenarios, this approach is not suitable. For example, this won't enable you to recover an object you deleted after the backup took place if that deletion has replicated to other domain controllers. If you restore a known good version of ADDS and restart the domain controller, the deletion that happened after the backup took place will simply replicate back to the domain controller. Authoritative restore. An authoritative restore allows you to restore a known good copy of ADDS objects, which replaces the current version of these objects in the ADDS database. In an authoritative restore, you start with the same sequence of steps as the non-authoritative restore. However, before you restart the domain controller, you mark the restored objects that you want to persist as authoritative, so they'll replicate from the restored domain controller outbound to its replication partners.